Fitness Pro Mentors, welcome to the podcast. It is your host, Glenn and I of Fitness Pro Mentors. Really wish we get Taylor up here too. That'd be an absolute blast. Today, we are talking about business development and the one mistake that personal trainers make in developing their in-person business. I've seen it many times. I constantly see people doing it. I constantly hear people doing it. And we're going to talk about a couple stories, a couple examples, and a couple ways to make sure you don't make this mistake so you can grow your business as fast as possible and ultimately have more skills and assets that you can acquire and call on as you go forward. But before we get started, Glenn, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Brendan. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very, very good. We just finished Canadian Thanksgiving. Wonderful food. If you're in Canada, happy belated Thanksgiving. If you're in the US, not yet. But we're really excited today to dive in and talk about this.
Let's smash into it because I think this is a topic I'm excited for. This is probably going to, I think, it's going to be like a big overview look at the things that we see time and time again in the mentorship where people just tend to fall short and want to speed through and it ends up undercutting them in the future. So this is going to be one I think we're going to shine a lot of light on some things that people might be mistaken about.
I think generally, culturally, in the last 5 to 10 years, probably in the adjunct of social media starting to become more popular, you see this quick ability to get information. You see other people succeeding, and then you have this kind of accidental Dunning-Kruger thing that happens where you see other people that are succeeding. You're good at one thing. You believe that since you're good at one thing, someone else is succeeding. You should have the same level of success. And everyone just wants to bum rush to making $100,000 or $1 million a year. And everyone is trying to do as much as they can as fast as possible. And the marketplace, regardless of what genre or niche you have, is telling you the same thing. You can get faster, bigger, stronger, more successful, and ultimately grow and scale as fast as possible. Most of the sales that you see of closed-end products are trying to sell you, do this in 21 days, do this in 6 months. And it's this idea of an irresistible offer as you see across the board, and we even teach, but it gives you this idea that you can do X, Y, and Z in a very fast period of time. And as such, there are tons of people that believe that success and their ability to make a ton of money is right around the corner with the right delegation, the right outsourcing, the right investments, which is all partially true at the very beginning. But we ultimately forego a lot of necessary skill development and growth. And economically, at least in North America, you see this in many workplaces where entry-level jobs are struggling to get people to come in to actually spend the years to work and grow and actually scale up and step to these more veteran positions. All of these new young people believe that their success and being able to make what the veterans make, they should get it today. And in reality, I understand. It seems like it's all accessible and available to you. You and we need to go through the hard work and development and actually struggle and learn how to make these neuroplastic changes in our brain to understand particular skills that will help your business grow. It's absolutely possible to fast track some of these things, but I have yet to see the fast tracking method to be 100% fruitful. And when I say fast tracking, I mean a combination of outsourcing to other businesses to do work for you, paying for paid advertising, not doing hard things in your business like learning how to do testimonial videos and communicating with clients, outsourcing sales, especially if you're the lead entrepreneur, you need to learn how to do a lot of these things up front, because if you don't, scaling to the next level becomes nearly impossible.
Interestingly enough, if you actually look at the data that's out there in terms of the peak earning years, it doesn't really start happening till early 40s, mid 40s maybe, and then scales into the 50s and the 60s. Most times, these people that you see who are millionaires by the age of 25, 30, even 35, these are the rarest of cases. Most of the time, your peak earning years are going to be after the age of 45, and that's okay because it actually takes a lot of the pressure and stress off of you to have to do everything right now and to rush through things. You're supposed to struggle. Life is not supposed to be easy. It doesn't mean you have to live life in fear or frustration or anger all the time. You have to experience those things transiently to get where you want to go so that when you're in your later years, you can actually start making some real hard cash. And we're not saying you can't make $100,000 a year as a personal trainer in your 20s and 30s. In fact, it's very, very possible. Very, very possible. It's just, it takes some time to put some time and work into those skills, experience some of those emotions, and really move into, how do I put this? The obstacle is the way often where if you've got an obstacle, you actually have to figure out how to move through that obstacle, solve that problem for yourself before you can delegate it out. I'm sure we'll talk about some of that as we get into the podcast today.
Yeah, I got two examples that come to my mind that are stories, and one is a smaller one and then one is a larger one. One is someone that I've been coaching through helping them start their business for several years, not as a part of our program, but someone I've been really excited to see from the kind of traditional workspace to growing his own business. And he has a particular skill set. He's done a great job of scaling, but at the end of at the beginning of his story, he never really learned communication and personal development to how to talk to people. So he struggles with, when he meets a new customer, how to sell them on his product and making sure that he gets the adequate investment into his business. So he makes what he needs to do, they get what they want, and he's coming ahead in the green. And then the second thing is, if he has a negative experience with a customer, he gets hot-headed and angry rather quickly. And at this point continues to delegate email and any sort of communication to ChatGPT to get quick answers to help him how to figure out and communicate with clients. Now, these are all fine things. But when you're thinking about a leadership role of someone in a small scale business, and I mean, if you look up small scale business, most business people would say anything that's under $1 million. So you're making under $1 million in a small business with an X number of people. If you don't know how to communicate with a customer, how this translate in your leadership to those that are quote unquote lateral to you, below you, above you, however that may be, this creates a massive problem, because you learning how to go through the necessary steps to send someone a negative email to ask for money because it's 30 days past is a skill that you can translate and teach to the people that you're mentoring, growing, and hiring. This allows you to create particular systems based around that. Ultimately, your actual total intelligence, knowledge, and skill level will be a summation of the experience and time that you put in. Now, we've talked about this prior, or at least we've talked about this, using tools like mentors, ChatGPT, and other sources, YouTube, are great ways to acquire information. But just like if you're learning something brand new, you have to look at the information, close the book, practice doing it, review what you did, then open the book again and go, oh, this is what Brandon and Glenn said. This is what ChatGPT said. I see why it said this here, because when I did my email, this is the experience that I had. You developing these skills, as we've talked about, will exponentially scale across every other field. Like a negative communication in an email, learning how to do that turns into how to have an unhappy conversation on the phone, which turns into conflict resolution with staff, and conflict resolution in your family, and conflict resolution into the next business that you do with the negative experiences. Truthfully, if it happens, ultimately the hard skills you develop will have exponential growth. But if you take the shortcut, you never develop that and become shortcut codependent. And I don't know about you, I can imagine where a heavy insecurity or emotion would come where you feel this codependency on X, Y, and Z thing.
Yeah, I think in a nutshell, another way to look at this is, if you want to have a very successful business and then scale that business up, especially when it comes to one-on-one personal training, you have to be able to do everything from the marketing just to get yourself in front of people, to the sales, to the one-on-one stuff, to the retention, to the add-on sales, and all that kind of different stuff. You have to be able to get really amazing at that entire cycle of bringing new people into your business to, for whatever reason, whenever the relationship stops. Hopefully it doesn't stop in retention. Something we work on in this program pretty heavily with all of our students, because we know it's 7 times easier to bring someone back in the business and keep them rather than to get new business. But, short of the long is, you've got to be able to be really great at all these different things from point 1 all the way to point 7, right? The entire cycle. Brandon already talked about the importance of communication, something that's very, very important. And I think it's really one of the cornerstones. We've talked about it in some different ways, but maybe not directly like this, is understanding psychology is so huge. There is communication psychology, there is sales psychology, there's marketing psychology, there is going to be psychology for retention, psychology for training, psychology for everything. And the better you can get at understanding human beings, the better your marketing copy gets when you're reaching out to try to get new people into your facility. The better your understanding of human psychology, the better you're able to handle those difficult conversations that Brandon said. The easier it is for you to sell people, because you understand what it's like to be in other people's shoes. You understand how to communicate through that, how to show people your product and what it is and how it's going to be beneficial for them, and ultimately have them feel really, really amazing inside that one-on-one personal training that you do, such that they can't imagine their life without you. And I would say that's probably one of the great cornerstones, or the epitome of a great exercise professional is you're working with someone, even if there's someone that in your mind, they move well, they have very little pains and discomforts, they're doing fantastic. In your mind, you might even think, why does this person necessarily need to keep seeing me? Because they seem to be able to, they know everything that I know. Even let's just say that's your framing for how they see you, but they still feel like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't see Brandon every month or Glenn every month. Help me continue and progress this. You know you're in a really good place at that point, and then you can start teaching and then maybe consider delegating, outsourcing some of these tasks, the appropriate ones, but not all of them.
There's another student that's a part of our program right now, actually. I have a few different stories. I was debating on which one I was going to tell, but I think this one will be the most appropriate because I know he would be 100% fine with this. He's a relatively new personal trainer. And as sold via social media, one of the most popular fitness launch programs, if you catch my lean, sells this idea that you can grow a massive business very quickly through paid advertising. And so this young trainer works with Glenn, invested a bunch of money at a very young age into a gym, into a marketing program that was a year long, that was 5 figures, and then spent a ton of money on paid advertising. Now, this particular trainer was a very solid, capable personal trainer in person, but struggled with having a clear vision as to which market they were targeting, really, really unclear as the avatar that they were trying to do, struggled with sales in general, even when following a script, never learned the actual sales process. And after spending, I think, between $20,000 and $30,000 between a marketing program with a specific message saying that you can grow this group exercise program, putting money into paid advertising, having leads come in, right? This is where the first problem was, unclear of who they're trying to market to. So the messaging they were portraying and the client that they actually wanted didn't match. So when clients came in, they were poor quality leads for what they were looking for. Then when good quality leads did come in that kind of resonated with their individual process, their sales ability did not meet that of they couldn't find the pains of the person that walked in the door. So then people were walking through them. And ultimately, because the hard skills were not developed and they tried to bum rush the process, so to speak, by investing into paid advertising programs and following scripts, they came out in the red in a big way. And fortunately had this turn into a pretty big, incredible, able to get out of the red situation at the end of the day. But what ended up happening, clearly, I want to just Coles notes this as that they followed all the messaging to the thing online that you can do things fast. They did not develop any of the hard skills that were required to find the right client, acquire the right client into your sales process, and maintain that client, and ultimately lost money at the end of the day. And this is a very common story. The number of I know some other trainers who've done the exact same thing and have been moderately successful getting people in the door, but struggle with retention of either the client or growing or even the retention of the actual personal trainer's training business, right? Because if you can't find people that meet what you're trying to sell, you have a major, major, major challenge. I don't know if Glenn could speak to this because this is my opinion, but I think one of the reasons why Strata has been successful is 2 parts. One, the marketing and the client machine that we've created and the messaging around the business. And then second, in my opinion, how I've been able to share information with Glenn, Taylor, and other people that work here so we can all offer the same quality experience. And I don't mean that in like a, this is how you do it kind of way, but me being able to go through, get the battle scars to see what worked and what didn't work, making a ton of mistakes, and then being able to say, hey, when you do a presentation, think about this rather than this, to help just speed up the process. Was that fair? Or?
I think it's very, very fair. I think we get to be wise because you made some mistakes and you became smarter.
And then everyone, and then Glenn becomes his own wise individual from that information. And so does Taylor. And so does, even now, I'll give you one fresh example. New trainer that's starting here, Tyler. Very excited about him. He's putting a lot of hard work in. I'm very busy. It's been a busy season. My wife's been sick. It's Thanksgiving here. I haven't been able to spend as much one-on-one time with him as I want. He's just watching the educational videos we teach in our marketing program. And he worked at Good Life, and he's now here. And he's resurrected, I think, 6 to 7 clients. He has his first paying client right now. And he's just calling people, following the educational information that I've shared and following suit and asking questions of Glenn, Taylor, to help sharpen what's worked in Good Life and what didn't so we can go faster.
So you've heard of this, say this before, and this probably makes a lot of sense just when you think about it intuitively, even visually. If you visualize a funnel, marketing is the very first top part of the funnel, then sales, and then you've got your actual technical training, and then retention follows that, right? We call it the FIST formula: find, integrate, stay, train. Easy to remember, easy to kind of, as a mnemonic device, have that solid in your brain. If you don't have the amount of clients that you want to be working with right now, like your business isn't as healthy as you want to, your marketing is your very first pillar you have to be thinking about. When it comes to marketing, you've got to be able to understand the psychology of sales and the psychology of the people that you're trying to reach. Because at the end of the day, sales, when you think about it, marketing is just sales on steroids. Sales is like, psychology one-to-one. Marketing is sales and psychology one-to-many. So if you don't have as many people in your business as you want right now, you've got to start with, I got to become a better marketer. I have to understand my client demographic better. I have to become a better communicator. I have to understand the psychology of selling and marketing way better. And then from there, you can work on more in your sales process. Then you can work a little bit more on your technical stuff. And then you can work on your retention strategies, right? This is the funnel. And at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to this is, Ben and I were talking about this in our prep for today's conversation, and this book that I haven't read it, but the title's always stuck with me, which is The Obstacle is the Way, is a way of saying that there is something in your way right now that maybe you've tried to delegate or you're trying to rush through that you can't. You really, I don't use the word can't too often. You really can't though. You ought not do that. You've got to get better at that thing. And if you don't have the health of the business, it's probably marketing. And when it comes to marketing and the communication psychology, you have to attack it ruthlessly. You have to get better and better at it. You ought not spend your time necessarily learning new technical information about how to help your clients more. And there's like a small caveat, which if you're a brand new trainer, you have to learn a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe that's an area you do have to focus on. But if your business isn't as healthy as you want to, you have to start with marketing. You have to attack it ruthlessly. And then once you're getting leads in on a steady basis, you're booking consultations every week, then we can start focusing a little bit more on the sales and the in-person communication stuff and the training stuff. But you have to attack your weaknesses ruthlessly before you delegate. You can't rush over. There's no way around that. You can get 1,000 leads in through the door, but if you can't sell them, you're in trouble. So you need to get your sales dialed in and your marketing dialed in, which is largely communication and psychology and showing people why you're the solution to their problem. And once you can do that, everything else really begins to start falling into place.
And I'm going to just, I 100% agree with Glenn, but I'm going to add just one layer on top. When he's talking about the marketing sales, when he's talking about marketing psychology, I would almost put a layer on top of the word marketing and say messaging. Because when you're thinking about marketing psychology, you need to be very clear as the words and, using traditional business language, what is your unique selling proposition and what pains do you solve? And that comes before marketing, because marketing is a kind of the physical action of what you do with that USP and understanding the pain. And so the marketing psychology that you're talking about, you need to be very clear. So like for us, when we work with clients, reality, what we do with most of our clients is we either help people with pains or optimize performance. If we were to triage those two as to which one had more value in the marketplace, helping people with pain is a scaling, more profitable market than performance enhancement, because the performance enhancement market is saturated. It's very hard to sell performance enhancement to a 65 or 70-year-old, considering that messaging, even though it is exactly what a lot of them need. And so when you go, okay, I got these two things, both are very important, but you kind of have like a priority and then a beta, like an alpha and a beta messaging, right? Our exercise process helps people get out of pain and feel better and move faster so they can perform better and ultimately live longer and da-da-da-da-da. And so that's kind of like messaging 101, right? This is the hat you put on before you do marketing. And then you have to practice saying it 1,000 different ways through social media, sales page, landing page, testimonials, that's marketing. And then, it's a lot. It's a lot. But this is part of what I'm trying to talk about, is that you can just get like hey, here's a piece of paper, Glenn, go do this. And I know Glenn can do this, but I know Glenn won't learn what it means that copy that information, because he's just taken the information, read it. I mean, this is like if you just read a book, you're not going to know the information. You have to read the book, read it 2 or 3 times, figure out a practical application for it. Like, what does this actually mean? So I actually know it. And then Andrew Huberman would suggest you try and teach it a little bit. How do you actually read it, pragmatic it, make it practical, and then digest it by teaching it anyway? Rant.
Yeah. I'm going to ask everyone to consider this as like a concept, a visual concept. I think this will really help us all sink in. If you can imagine your business almost like a pyramid, And you've got like the tip of the pyramid being very much like I have my ideal career, I'm making lots of money and it feels great. And the bottom of the pyramid almost like being the base of the skills that you have to learn and have to know in order to have that pyramid be really, really high. You can't have a pyramid where all the different skills that you have are very, very narrow. You have to have a very wide base of a pyramid if you want to build it up very, very tall. And that base of that pyramid, the trainers that continue to struggle over and over again, they're brilliant technically and great with clients, but they don't have all the other skills like communication, marketing, sales, all that kind of stuff. So they never actually can build their pyramid up very, very high. If you want to have a very robust business, you have to acquire a whole bunch of different skills at a base level and have that pyramid be very, very wide before you start making it very, very tall. Things like communication, technical ability, marketing, sales, retention communication, presentation skills, program design, whatever that might be. You've got to really make that pyramid base really, really, really wide first, and then you'll be able to build it up really, 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 really tall. The best way to think about this, and I guess in another way, is you want the most surface area of that pyramid. If it's very, very thin base, but very, very tall pyramid, the surface area is very, very small. There's not a lot of skills that you have, and you're not going to be able to grow very much. But you have an incredibly wide base, and then a very, very tall pyramid, like you're very, very busy, then you've got a whole bunch of surface area in that triangle, and you're going to have a successful business. You cannot be a strong communicator, have strong skills in marketing and sales, be a strong presenter, strong communicator. If you have all those things, you have to be successful. There's really no other way of putting it. It is a misnomer that you won't get to where you want to get to. If you have those skills, you will be successful, and you have to really work on developing them. And they all stack on top of each other, and that is what makes a successful personal trainer, in my opinion.
My closing point is actually my pick of the week, and I'm going to jump ahead here because I think everyone who's trying to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, if you will, where you're a part of a business and you're trying to grow your business, I think everyone should practice photography. I really, really do. It is not because of social media, although that there is a lateral benefit to being able to help your social media and visual content that you create. But if you think about it, how many North Americans have cell phones in their pockets with cameras? How many people own DSLR or mirrorless cameras like this? And then how many people are successful at taking photos and making a living off of it? It's a very small percentage in contrast to the number of people that have the ability to take photos. The reason why is because there's an amount of skill, composition, and artistry and some technology that's required for you to take a picture of a thing and have it look beautiful and have it tell a story that is more compelling than the iPhone picture. The reason why I think everyone should practice photography, no matter if you have a camera that's like this or your iPhone camera, is, in my opinion, one of my favorite exercises from the mentorships that I don't know if people do, I hope they do, is to take one object in one setting and take as many different pictures of it with making it look completely different in every photo. Because in reality, what you get really good at doing is taking one tool, one subject, one message, and you get really, really good at visually understanding how one thing can be 100 things. And that's a skill. And if you develop that skill of being able to see things differently in your head, right? Like when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Then that one thing, photography, really just becomes a message or an anecdote for talking, communication, messaging. Because it's very easy to listen to this podcast and go, I understand messaging, sure. Then you get it, and you got to apply it in 1,000 different settings, like art. And this is where, in reality, the art and science of business is exactly that. There are specific scientific, let's not say that, quantitative things you have to do in your business to grow it. But then there's a level of artistry that you need, and you can't rush it. Because if you rush it, you're going to get a little bit of success, but you will have imposter syndrome. You will struggle. You will be stuck. You might not have any of those emotional things because you might not be that person, but your business will just literally get stuck at a particular point because it can't go any further. Practice photography. Practice seeing things differently, right? That exercise, again, is take one object in one setting and take as many different beautiful pictures of it as you possibly can to have it look completely different. Pick something cool, a teddy bear, Ganesha, whatever you want. Have fun with it. Anyway, my pick of the week is photography.
And do that right now. Don't think about it. Spend 5 minutes. Do it right now. Don't wait. My pick of the week is in the similar vein of the podcast here. I read a really great book. It might have been 7 or 8 years ago I read it. I can't quite remember. I just looked it up in my Kindle library. It's called, let me see here, How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big. It's by Scott Adams. I don't know if you know who Scott Adams is. The Dilbert cartoon, very popular cartoon, was created by Scott Adams. He used to be a banker before he got into being a creator for comic strips. He's got a very interesting story, and it's not the point of this particular pick of the week, but here's what I want to put out for this book. This book essentially discusses and shares a lot of the sentiments we've shared in the podcast, but it discusses how skill stacking is your key to being successful in life. And if you have a whole bunch of key skills, you can take those skills and move into many different industries and be successful. I have no doubt in my mind that Brandon and I could both be crazy great realtors if we wanted to, because a lot of the skills of communication, sales, marketing, all that stuff applies very well to that. Any sales position, really. We just would have to go learn maybe some of the technical knowledge, right, that comes along with that. So this book, How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams, is absolutely wonderful. He talks about, goals are BS. You have to work with systems that are reproducible and recreatable. As you use them, end up yielding you the results that you want as you check in and go through them. I highly recommend it. And the great thing is that Scott Adams, being a funny guy, it's a very easy to digest read book. It's not filled with a whole bunch of other nonsense, which I find a lot of books written by PhDs are. The kind of books that you get, and it's like 20% of it's really great, but the other 80% is like, what do we do in here? Feels like a lot of filler. This book is 250 pages of all killer, no filler, easy to digest. Highly recommended if you want to think about skill stacking, how it might apply to your life and your business. It was a game changer for me. I still regularly think about it, and that's my pick of the week is How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams. Can't recommend it enough.
Everyone, thank you so much for being here. This is Glenn and Brandon. We're part of Fitness Pro Mentors. Check out our gym, Strat Internal Performance. You can see some cool stuff in action. And ultimately, one of our favorite things to do is help trainers like you succeed organically without spending a ton of money and having the career that you deserve.
Drop us a line if you'd like to have a chat. We're happy to just sit down with you 45 minutes, an hour, see what we can do to help you with your business right away. No strings attached. You know where to find us.
Check out our incredible Facebook group, Fitness Pro Mentors, available on Facebook. And you can check out a bunch of other podcasts on YouTube. But thanks so much for being here. We'll look forward to seeing you real soon.
Take care, everybody.